Hey toy fans, I'm D21Beast and welcome back to my figure review series here on my YouTube channel. And today we're looking at the Marvel Select Magneto figure released by Diamond Select. Now if you're not familiar with Magneto, he did first appear in X-Men issue 1 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and he is the on-again, off-again teammate and villain of the X-Men. Now while I don't have a lot of Marvel Select figures, I do have a few X-Men characters, and naturally Magneto should be part of that collection, seeing that he is one of the most important characters in the X-Men universe. Let's go ahead and get things started by taking a look at the packaging for this figure. As you come down the front of this box, you do have a very large blister bubble packaging that does house this Magneto figure inside, as well as his display base. On the left-hand side of the package, you've got the logo for Marvel Select and the figure's name, Magneto, and then you've got a sticker there at the bottom that has the Magneto comic book logo. As we flip this package around, you've got some nice Magneto artwork there on the side. And then on the back of this package, you once again have the Marvel Select logo, you have an image of Magneto off to the right, and then a bio for this figure. Go ahead and pause now to read that. And then towards the bottom, you have another image of Magneto and some other figures currently available in this wave. Alright guys, well that's the packaging. What say we get this figure out of the box and see what he's all about? Alright toy fans, so here we have Magneto out of the packaging, and I'm about 50-50 on this figure. I think that the look of this figure is actually really nice, with the exception of maybe the head. As I pull it in here, you're going to notice that he's got a very intense stare on his face, and I wish I would have sculpted that just a little bit differently. But outside of the head sculpt, I really like the color of paint they've chosen to do for the bolts here on the cape. I like that the cape is sort of a darker color purple, and it's got some great sculpting throughout. I like the way that the wrinkles just look really organic on this cape. Coming down the torso here, we have some nice muscle sculpting and some fabric sculpting here. I even like that there's these sort of lines that are sometimes drawn on Magneto's costume. I don't know if you can see those there, but those aren't always included on his costume detail. It's cool that those are actually on the figure. He's got some great paint shading here in his muscles, some clean paint work here on the arms and on the body as we come down. That same paint here on the trunks that we had on the cape. And then some more of that muscle shading here with the dark wash. And then coming down, just some more paint here on the legs. So overall, painted very, very nicely. But I'd say, yeah, just on first impressions, I think that head is just a little intense. I wish I would have done something a little different. Magneto's not usually grimacing. He's usually pretty calm and collected whenever he's doing his villainry. So I think a sort of more stern look would have been great for this Magneto figure. Accessory-wise, Magneto's actually got a really nice display base. Looking at this piece here, you can see that it does have the Xavier Institute sign. There's tons of sculpted detail here on the bricks and on all the rubble. On the back here, it even looks really great. I love the wash that's on the bricks on the front and on the back. And then look at just all the detail that's been sculpted into all of this debris. I mean, it looks really, really sharp. And then you'll see here that there is actually a Colossus arm laying on the ground. I guess Colossus was a victim of Magneto in this particular setting. I think the hand looks really, really nice. It's sculpted great. Has a nice reflective red paint, but it is actually different, I noticed, from the actual Marvel Select Colossus paint color. So not quite the same, and actually looks like that hand's a little bit bigger than Colossus's own hand. So the scale may be a bit off there, but this is just a really, really great display base. Now it does have a peg hole on this side, and there's a flatter area here for Magneto's right foot, and then another flatter area here over for Magneto's left foot. The bottom of this base, just really nothing going on. On the back here, we have some more paint detail, which is really great. But Magneto actually has a hole in the bottom of his foot, and he does fit in this base very nicely. Now, there's that hole in the bottom of his foot. I do wish the peg was just a little bit further back, though, because Magneto's toe does kind of come right to the edge of the sort of foothold area that they've designed for him. But once you stand him in here, he actually looks pretty great, I think, standing on the rubble of this piece. I mean, this Magneto figure, I think you'd really want to go ahead and just display standing on this display stand. It just looks so fantastic. Moving on to articulation, I do think this Magneto figure falls a bit short, and it's probably my biggest complaint about this figure, despite how good he looks. Magneto's head is on sort of a mushroom peg, it seems like, so his head can only really bend down that far, bend back that far. It does rotate left and right nicely, but you're not getting a nice sort of full range of motion on the head there. Now, this fantastic looking cape does hinder his shoulder joint, so his arm can bend forward only about that far and bend back down into the cape. It does extend out from the body that far, but you're getting some more resistance there from the cape. He's got an elbow that will bend forward that far and bend back that far. It does rotate all the way around. And then he's got a hinge here on his wrist. Now, it's actually on the wrist. The disc for the hinge is on the wrist. So it bends forward that far, bends back that far, and the hand will rotate around. I wish they would have done this a little differently, because if you try to pose Magneto with his hand in the air, it's very difficult to get that hand in any sort of actual believable position for his arm. I mean, look how contorted it is, just trying to get him to reach up. I wish they would have handled that a little bit differently. There's no ab crunch on this figure, but he does rotate left and right at the waist. He's got a ball jointed hinge that has a pretty major gap here as you turn his leg around, but it will allow the leg to spin forward that far, and then there's You can rotate it there to get the leg kind of straightened out. His leg will actually go back, basically back to standing position, but it does bend out from the body about that far. Again, full rotation here at the thigh, and then he has a double jointed knee that bends in nicely. There we go. And then his ankle is actually a little bit of a disappointment too. Now, it can bend down just a little bit and bend forward actually quite nicely. It does rotate left and right, but there is no pivot in it. So it's kind of difficult at times, depending on how you're standing him, to get him to stand straight because of the lack of ankle pivot. And actually, the base even, when you're trying to place him on the base, can be a little bit tricky because he's not able to actually articulate his ankles the right way to firmly plant his feet on the base. Height-wise, you can see that Magneto does stand just a little bit over 7 inches tall. For some size comparison, here we have Marvel Select Magneto compared to Marvel Select Colossus. Here he is compared to Marvel Select Juggernaut, and compared to Series 3 Marvel Legends Magneto, and compared to a few other Magnetos in my collection. Ooh, hello. And finally, here he is compared to the 6-inch scale Marvel Legends Infinite Series Wolverine. Can I go now, Bob? This guy's making me nervous. Alright, toy fans, well that's my review of the Marvel Select Magneto figure released by Diamond Select. Overall, this Magneto figure is a bit of a middle-of-the-road purchase if you ask me. He's definitely a figure you want to get if you're collecting all the Marvel Select X-Men figures. I mean, he's kind of a required character for your collection. But I do feel like the face sculpt is a little bit lacking, and I feel like the articulation really kind of hinders some of the overall enjoyment and posability of this figure when you're trying to display him. But that display base is absolutely amazing and should not be overlooked. If you're an X-Men fan, you may want to go ahead and pick up this figure. But if you're just a casual collector of Marvel Select figures, this is one you guys may want to go ahead and give a pass. Well, thanks for watching this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And a special thanks to Jeff for sending this Magneto figure my way. If you like what you saw here, please feel free to rate, share, subscribe. Also be sure to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at D21Beast. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.